But also, like, he's like sitting there eating ice cream. Like, it's not like, like if somebody came in and they were like ransacking the place, like obviously they'd be like in a panic. But he's looking at you and you're looking at him and you thought, let's shoot him. Like,
Yeah.
what?
Hey guys, we're kind of cultured. I'm Carla.
I'm Asia. Welcome back.
And yeah, we're back this week with more news for you guys and interesting info we want to share and talk about.
Yes, all the stuff you missed from your news cycle, everything that you want to talk about, stuff that's controversial, stuff that's just, you know, pop culture news.
Yes. But also, if you're watching on YouTube, you know that we have mics now and
Yay for mics.
yes. But we just spent 2 hours setting them up because we're not very tech savvy.
No.
So hopefully they're worth it and you guys enjoy the better audio quality.
Yes. This was actually one of the acts from somebody who sent in and told us that we need better quality. So if you two have some more tips or suggestions or just some comments, please send your inquiries to kindaculturedpodcast4@gmail.com. We're looking forward to it.
Yes. So we can get right into it. What do we have for today?
So the first thing, I think a lot of people probably missed this from the news cycle, that Barbie is having gender neutral dolls.
Yeah. I think we are more like aware of those kinds of things because we're in advertising.
Yeah. Literally found it on like Adweek.
Yeah. Same.
Mm-hmm.
Same.
So
what do you think?
Jinx. I mean, I think it's a great thing. I think that especially as like the culture, like, as a generation and the culture starts to progress and, there's more pronouns being used and people finally feeling included in the conversation, I think definitely like that should be reflected in the toys that we play with, that children play with. And I mean, I think Barbie has come such a long way. Just last week, I was telling you that, like, if there was any company that I'd want to work with right now, from like an advertising capacity, it would be Barbie because I love their story. I love that it was first, like, initially the first doll made for girls that didn't have to do with like nursing a baby.
Mm-hmm.
It was like really about like your career and doing something that's outside of the home. So I think this is another like step for Barbie, like being the pioneer in something that's not quite accepted yet. What do you think?
Yeah. I think it's great for gender neutral kids to see themselves represented in their toys. Obviously, like who's gonna be against it? Only an asshole can be. But I remember we talked about I mean not but I remember we talked about this a few episodes back, how like we're moving away from as a society, we're moving away from wanting to play with things that look like us or like, characters in video games and toys and all of that. And we're starting to move more towards we can be anybody we want to be. Like if I want to be a super big muscular monster or whatever in a video game, I can be that. Or if I want a toy that looks like that, I can, have it. So it surprises me that I mean, I guess it doesn't surprise me, but it's interesting that at this point we're coming out with more things that look like us, and it's really hard to represent everybody.
Yeah.
Because what if somebody's gender neutral with like super long hair? Then like these new Barbie dolls have short hair, right?
Yeah, they all have short hair. They all have pretty like features that are very like
Neutral.
that can neutral.
Yeah.
Like not very long eyelashes, hair very short, features like not like exaggerated lips, like.
And then we run into the problem that not all gender neutral people look like that.
Sure.
And it would be a generalization to say that most do.
I mean, that's definitely true. And you're right. Like with anything, there's going to be like a phase where, they have to work out the kinks. Mm-hmm. And I think they're going to realize that this may help quite a bit of people, but it's still leaving out those who don't fit the bill.
Exactly.
But I do think what you said was kind of interesting. Like, I do think like society's kind of going the way with like not having anything associated with like gender or people, because like you said, like you're like a monster or a figure on a lot of video games now, and they don't really have people anymore. But I think that the part of society that never felt included is finally like catching up. So like for instance, I know that like when I was a little girl, you couldn't find like really like black Barbies, and like now you have a few like black owned businesses that do specifically black Barbies. And I think that it's relatively new for kids growing up in this generation and maybe the one prior. So just like now gender neutral dolls, like I just think that like the people who have been excluded, they're finally like kind of getting their chance, so they can't really follow with what where society is going, because society had their phase. They had more than 20, 30 years of things looking like them. So
Yeah.
that's where I'm at.
So, to my point, maybe they should make dolls that are customizable, yeah, or like that can actually make people feel more
Yeah,
included. Or are these customizable?
there is some level of customization. So like it comes with like a little kit that's usually like clothes, mostly clothes,
Mm-hmm.
maybe jewelry. But as far and there's one that comes with like a longer hair.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if it's, I think it's like a color hair, you know? But what I like about this is that, Barbie has been kind of known for being, inexpensive, because frankly, if you want a doll that looks just like you could probably order one somewhere, Etsy or something. But I think Barbie is like, I think they came a long way. I think this is
Yeah,
the
yeah,
right direction.
yeah.
And I would hope that a lot of other like, dolls are gonna go in the same direction.
Especially because they have had such a bad like reputation for other things, like making only skinny Barbies and blah blah blah, like, and giving, which I don't think is like necessarily true, like giving girls like eating disorders because they want to look like their Barbie. I think it's a little too much. Like, it's society as a whole, not Barbie,
Yeah.
that's doing that to girls or
I
kids.
mean, I agree, but I also think that the things that we look at and the things that we buy contribute to that thought process. Like that's what makes society society, like the things in it.
Yeah, true.
But you're right.
But like in general, like I love this. Who's gonna be against it? Only like homophobic people.
Exactly. And the funny thing is that
Which is like,
yeah,
yeah.
they actually did a research and like a research study, Pew Research, and they tried to figure out like who thought this was a good idea. Not just this, but the idea of Barbie making things for girls, and like the idea of girls also using toys that are usually like geared for boys. And the majority of people really like that Barbie is also making things that are like more like educational, like blocks and things like that. But when they did the same study in regard to boys, like boys using toys that are more for girls traditionally, more people were like, I don't think this is a good idea. I think it was like, I think the previous study was like 70 something, and then the one for boys was like in the 50s. So I think we still have a way to go as society to like, I think boys deserve an opportunity to play with dolls.
I think people just think that like a boy playing with a doll is gonna make them gay.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's not how it works,
and
guys.
and I think it's like people say that it's more noticeable if a kid, like if a boy is gay than like a girl. It's like,
Well, yeah, because there's a word for like the girl phase, the tomboy-ish, and that's still not associated with like
with their sexual orientation.
Exactly. It's just like, oh,
But
she's
if a boy is more
yeah,
like effeminate, I don't know
then
if effeminate is the right word to use.
yeah, feminine or flamboyant, they just assume
Yeah.
like that's it. That's their life choice, like as a kid.
Exactly, and it's not a choice. Most importantly,
Yeah.
but it's silly. Like the whole thing's just silly.
Yeah. I mean,
Like kids don't know. Like if a kid puts on a dress or wants to buy a dress or a costume that's for a girl, it doesn't
mean
have-
anything. They probably just like it.
Exactly.
Like, it's cool.
just like
it's
a girl
nice.
likes it. And
Yeah, and like, what is the worst thing ever? Like, I remember having this conversation with my family, and they're like super like maybe not homophobic, but like it's very like ingrained, which is obviously a problem in like Black culture, like this idea of being homophobic. And we were talking about like why boys shouldn't have dolls. And I'm like, bro, like what is the worst thing that happens? Like they like the doll, like, and we were talking about like baby dolls. And I'm like, what's the worst thing? They learn to be charismatic. They learn to take care of their children. They learn to, like hold a child. Are those the worst qualities? Like, I thought that was insane. Like,
Yeah, just like with the girls, it might prepare them for their future if they decide to have kids. That's it.
and I think, I mean, especially now where we're seeing like a lot of like fathers not taking like a role in the raising of their kids. I mean, why shouldn't they learn
That's
that from
always been like that, though.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's crazy. They should learn from a young age. If we have to learn from a young age, my mom taught me how to cook stuff for my husband. And when I was like, 12, what the hell
You're
do
never
I
getting
know?
married.
Right? Like, what do I know as a 12-year-old? Like, I need to learn how to cook for my husband. What kind of thing, what is he doing out there
Exactly.
for me as
He's
a child?
He's studying, Aisha, so he can go to school and make money and pay for everything for you. Pay for your nail appointment.
Yeah, because it's super important.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Pay for the baby's diapers.
Yeah. So naturally, I have to prepare. Exactly.
I think it's unfortunate sometimes that we were chosen as the gender. I mean, not that there's two genders, but like traditionally, females carry the baby because our bodies are made for that.
Yeah.
And it's unfair.
Except for seahorses.
Exactly. Man, I wish I was a seahorse sometimes.
Man, I wish I was a seahorse sometimes.
But yeah, I mean, it's plus like if somebody's gonna be gay, the toys that they play with are not gonna make them gay or straight or whatever sexual orientation they are.
Yeah.
That's just the reality of it.
If you buy a gay kid a fire truck, I don't think that's gonna be the solve.
They might be a gay fireman.
There you go. Look what you did. You chose their occupation.
Exactly.
But yeah.
Yeah, it's dumb.
Yeah.
So we can both agree that that's amazing.
Yes. And props to Barbie for pioneering something that's long in coming. Yeah.
Yeah. And they are pioneers, I think.
Yeah.
They have traditionally been, historically, I should say, pioneers.
Yeah. And even though they've had their hiccups over the years, I think that they're evolving, which every great company should. They should,
Exactly.
So yeah. So another great thing in our news cycle, well, not great, but like what I think a lot of people have been hearing is the case with the police officer that got 10 years for murdering. I mean, everyone kind of knows the case. Like she accidentally went into an apartment she believed that was hers. Accidentally. For those of you who are listening, those are some heavy air quotes. Yes. Accidentally went into the wrong apartment and she shot and killed. The gentleman's name was Botham Jean, who was eating ice cream on his couch, and she thought it was a burglar. And the police officer, Amber Greer, she got 10 years for the incident.
She only got 10 years for the incident. And honestly, I've thought about, I watch a lot of true crime videos and I read a lot of true crime
videos.
And
rubbed off on me.
Yeah. So I was thinking, what could her, like, let's say she did it on purpose, right? Like, let's assume that for a second. Okay. What could she have possibly wanted, like, what could she have gained from shooting a man in his own apartment? Like, she's a police officer. She should know better. Like, if she wanted to kill her neighbor, it's kind of a weird, like...
way to go about it.
Yeah. So, if she did it accidentally and, like, really thought it was her apartment or whatever...
She was super tired or drunk or high or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, they haven't released yet. Have they released? Like, her, like, was she drunk? Was she high? Like, I don't know. I haven't heard anything about that.
I'm pretty sure... As far as I know, that she wasn't drunk or high. She claimed she was tired. And that's why she shot a man on his couch.
Yeah. That's what I do when I'm tired.
Yeah. And like the first thing, if you go into your apartment and you see a man eating ice cream, sitting on your couch eating ice cream, like of course you're going to get scared, but you're not going to think your life is in immediate danger.
Danger.
Like, just walk out, walk back
Yeah.
out, and lock him in or something.
But like most people, I think like the police suggest that too. If you are trying to go into your house and you realize the door is open, or you can see like a window that's broken into, they tell you, do not go into that house. Yeah. Call police, or for her, call backup. But like,
And also, maybe because she's a police officer, she thinks differently. But my first thought is not to shoot somebody, like, especially off duty. Like,
exactly. And she has like a whole tool belt of like tasers, like different things that she can use. And of course, if you're a police officer, you're supposed to be trained. So you should be able to de escalate a situation, even if the person had a gun. But this guy didn't. Like,
I think it would scare me more to shoot somebody and the repercussions that may have than like going into my apartment when there's an intruder. You know what I mean?
I agree. And I also,
because it's crazy. Like, if I'm about to walk into my house and there's somebody else in there that shouldn't be, I'm just gonna like yell, or go to my neighbors, or knock on another person's door, or whatever.
exactly.
Or call 911, or like, well, she's a police officer, so I guess, like, yeah, as you said, call for backup. But it's just weird, man.
It doesn't seem like a normal person would react that way. But like, there's just still so many. Like in my head, why shoot to kill? Like, even like this could have been a different situation if she like shot him in the leg,
or shot the floor to scare him.
Exactly, warning shots or something. I just feel like there's so many other instances, or so many other courses of actions she could have taken to save his life. It just doesn't make sense. So I mean, I think most people are in agreement with this. I haven't seen anything to the contrary. Like,
I mean, how could you, like, it's just irrational. What she did was irrational.
it's a perfect word for it.
Absolutely irrational. And she killed an innocent man, which, like, breaks my heart. Like, seeing his photos breaks my heart.
Yeah. He was like a youth leader. Like, I mean, people like make those qualifying statements, like how great of a person he was. But God, even if he was a freaking awful person, no one deserves to die like that. No one deserves to be
whatever kind of person he was innocent. Period. You don't. Even if like this happened to a murderer or something, like, you don't. That's why it's not legal to kill a murderer or a rapist, because that's not how society works.
Yeah.
So, like, no matter who he was innocent, and he wasn't doing anything wrong, and he was killed for it. But I think the most important part of this is the sentence. Yeah. Of 10 years.
And she'll be up for like parole like in 5 years. So she can get out early.
I don't think she's gonna get parole because, well,
I mean, I think she'll be in there. I think she'll probably stay there for like 6 years. Get out early for good behavior. Like, I'm pretty sure that's what's gonna happen. I mean, I think this is a really sad situation. I want to ask you. So you saw at the end of like the whole sentencing that the brother of the gentleman that passed away went to hug her and like said like, I forgive you. Mm-hmm. What did you think of that?
I think whatever helps you cope is what you have to do. And maybe he believes her, and who are we to judge, like, what he's feeling, or like what is helping him get through the horrible tragedy that happened. I personally don't think I could ever forgive the murderer of my sibling. God forbid, that ever happens. But I don't think I'm that good of a person that I can forgive.
He's a better person than I will ever be. Like, I don't have that in my body.
Me neither.
Like,
to hug her?
No.
Like, I'm sorry. Like, yeah, she's a human being, but no. That made a very questionable, irrational decision.
I mean, God bless him. And I mean, in a situation like this, it's amazing that you can see these bursts of like of humanity and kindness and all these wonderful things. I think that's amazing, but I just don't think I can muster that up. Like, I can't even put myself in that situation. Like, if that were like my mother, like, I don't even know how to function. No. But I mean, props to him that he can do that. But yeah, this was just a travesty all the way around.
Yeah, I thought it was a little crazy. When I read that, I was like, wow. Like, But I guess, I mean, yeah, whatever helps him cope. And grief looks different to different people.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
if
yeah.
it helped, like, she went to jail and, like,
Mm-hmm.
that's closure. And, like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure he felt happy that, like, she was put away.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that, like, that sense of, like, relief and closure brought him to that point
Yeah.
where he can forgive her. Maybe he even believed her. Was she on the stand? Did she take the stand or no?
Yeah, I think that's when she like did her crying thing. Like, tried to plead her case and like cry her way out of the situation. But I mean, yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe he believed her, or maybe he didn't, but just thought that it was the right thing to do. I know in the Charleston church shooting that a lot of the people who survived and they were at the sentencing, they said that they forgive the shooter. And I mean, those are godly people who, I understand, but I'm just not there yet. But what I think was interesting in this whole thing, like in my house, a very black house. Like I think the conversation kind of played around, would this have been the same if it were flipped? If it was a black police officer and
No.
a white person in their house.
And I think that's the bigger conversation of, like, this whole thing.
Yeah.
Like, she got, like, that's why I said, like, she got 10 years, and it's not enough time compared to what a black man that shot a white woman would have gotten. Because, yeah, she's a police officer, but, like, it doesn't really matter. Like, she could have, like, just been carrying
Yeah.
and just shot him. I don't know if it helps or is worse that she's a police officer because she's trained into, like, shooting, not to kill. And
I think
I
it's
do think
so
it's
worse.
worse. It's worse.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're
Because like
right.
she's not an average civilian who acts on impulse. As a police officer, you're trained to like be in these high pressure situations and still be able to function. And the fact that she wasn't, like, imagine they gave her a badge and a gun, and this is how this woman performs in out in the field and in her personal life. So that's what's scary to me. Like if anything, this situation has taught me, I mean not just this situation, but I always felt like police officers like in the US were not trained in the right way. At least not as much as like in Japan for instance, like where they really hone in on um like the physicality of being a policeman, like how to like take a gun away, like being able to de-escalate situations and truly, being able to be like, a fighter, like not just like so heavily reliant on your gun, and that's not to say that there aren't a lot of police officers who are good police officers doing the right thing and just, I get that, it's just this was just really hard to see. I mean, just really hard. But
Agreed.
I mean, we can only hope that nothing like this happens again and that it served as a warning, for
Police officers that use their gun too quick
yeah,
in unnecessary situations,
exactly.
especially. Um, Man, it's just hard to believe that she thought she was in her like.
Yeah. Like look around. Like
Was
that's
it
not my couch.
was it that, yeah, exactly, like,
That's not my ice
was
cream.
it that she lived, like, above or below him or something, and she got up in the elevator from the elevator, like, in the wrong floor?
Yeah, something like
Because I
that.
feel like that's the only way that.
Well, apparently like where he lived, like they were like where you live, like I guess most houses are around the same,
Mhm.
like in terms of setup. But nonetheless, like just furniture, like you should be like, that's not mine.
Yeah, and if it's unlocked, like,
Why go in?
exactly.
But also like he's like sitting there eating ice cream. Like it's not like, like if somebody came in and they were like ransacking the place, like obviously they'd be like in a panic, but he's looking at you and you're looking at him and you thought, let's shoot him. Like,
Yeah.
what? Yeah. Inexcusable is what the situation was. Absolutely inexcusable.
Yep.
But yeah.
What else do we have?
Yes. So our last topic is about the Joker, the movie that has come out already, right? It's already premiered.
Yes.
And yeah, I think there's just been a little bit of like, I guess, a little anxiety around it because a lot of people remembered this time a couple years ago with the Aurora shooting.
Mm-hmm.
And it was Batman. It was the new Batman movie at that time.
The Dark Knight.
The Dark Knight. And the themes in the Joker, is, super heavy. Like a lot of mental health, a lot of I mean, empathizing with the murderer, and I mean, it's just a lot. And I think a lot of people are just really nervous to go to movie theaters, nervous to watch this.
Well, so when the news came out, whatever, that this movie was coming out, police security was enhanced in most movie theaters, or like in a lot of them throughout the country. And I was like, okay, well, there's more security, but like there's no way I'm going to watch that movie, because even though it looks super interesting, I didn't think it looked interesting. I was like, oh, whatever. I don't care about like superheroes or supervillains or whatever. I'm not that, like, that's not my kind of movie. And then I went to watch another movie, which also isn't my kind of movie, Hustlers. Well,
Oh,
not that it isn't,
I
but
want to see it.
honestly, I was so disappointed.
Oh,
They were like,
no.
J Lo gave an Oscar-winning performance, blah blah blah.
You didn't think so?
I thought her striptease dance thing was amazing, freaking brilliant for being 50 years old, like, and for being 20 years old. Like,
It's
it was just
hard.
yeah, it was just amazing. And she's a great, well, she's an actress, and
She said she's an actress.
she's an actress, and like this role honestly was just, I told my parents, I watched the movie and they were like, oh, how was it, like, is it as amazing as everybody says it is? I mean, Latino news channels say it's amazing because it's J-Lo and she's like their queen, I guess. I'm making air quotes because she's not my queen, but I admire her because like
Came
her
into,
body is
a read on
amazing.
Jennifer
Her,
Lopez.
like, she's been able to raise her family as like, from what we can tell, good kids, even though they're in the spotlight.
Talented kids.
Talented, like, I admire her for a lot of things. Her acting skills are not one of them.
I think she was great in Enough. I watched that just yesterday and I was like, wow.
Really?
I thought, like, I mean, I don't think J Lo is like, Meryl Streep, no. But I think for like the romantic comedies like Made in Manhattan and The Wedding Planner, which are like two of my favorite movies, I thought she did what she had to do. And in Enough, I thought that movie was
Okay.
good.
But I guess where I'm going with this is that her role in this movie, the Hustlers, was very I don't want to
Tell them.
I don't want to be offensive, but it was very like on brand for her. Not that she's a stripper, like whatever, like, that's not what I'm trying to say. It was very on brand, and I think it was easy for her to portray that character.
Okay.
It felt natural, which is like, I guess, a sign of a good actress, but I also don't think it was like that hard for her to like be a good actress for it, other than like like the dancing and like the training for that.
Okay.
So I was super disappointed. But when I went to watch that movie, I watched the Joker trailer, and I told my friend, I was like, oh my God, like, this looks like a really interesting movie that I want to watch. I'm all about like mental health and like, yeah. And I was like, even the trailer makes you feel bad for him. He does lead, I guess, a very sad life from the trailer, from what I could see. And it makes you empathize with him.
But it's complicated.
But it's complicated, but it's also the reality
Of most.
Not most shooters. Like, that's not what I was going to say.
Yeah.
But it's also the reality of a lot of men, or yeah, I guess men mostly.
Yeah. Men usually. 99% of the time. White
honestly,
men.
though, like, what's the percentage of shooters?
The shooters?
Like,
I mean, if we're talking like just like, mass shootings, it's 99.9.
I don't think, maybe I've heard of one case of
white men.
Yeah.
Middle, like 20s to like.
Yeah. It's shocking. Not really though. But it makes you empathize with him. Yeah, but I think it's a movie that I would want to watch. So when the news came out that like they were enhancing security because of possible threats, I was like, okay, I'm not putting myself. I'm already scared when I go to the movies for any movie, and like any time of day, even if it's like empty, which is most of the time, I'm already scared.
Yeah.
So with this movie coming out, I was like, I'm not gonna go watch it. And then when I watched the trailer, I was like, okay, I really want to watch it, so I might go. But I discovered this one theater like near work where like nobody goes, at least not when I go. So when I went to watch Hustlers, I'm always super paranoid.
Yeah.
But it was like 3 other people in the theater, and I was like, okay, well, a shooting's not gonna happen if there's only 5 people. Yeah. I mean, hopefully, but I'm always paranoid.
Same. I always look for an exit. Anywhere I enter, I always try to figure out how can I get out of here as quickly as possible.
And that's literally what different police stations like told people like when they went to watch the Joker, like, identify exits and blah blah. And why do I have to think of identifying exits if I'm gonna watch a movie with my friends? Like,
I mean, it's sad because there's like no more safe spaces, and I think that we've established that because of where these shootings, they're so random. Like once I feel like we infiltrated churches, I was like, whoa, like this is crazy.
Yeah.
But
there is no safe space anymore. No. Not even your freaking house.
Apparently not even your freaking house.
But let's talk a little more about the controversy of like,
I mean, the thing about like the Joker, first of all, let me say this. Heath Ledger is always and forever will be like the Joker to me.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Dude, this guy is like
Joaquin Phoenix.
Out of this world. Like, only by watching the trailer, I was like, holy shit. How is he so good?
I mean that's a testament to his acting. If like, people are so moved by it that, they feel even welcoming of another Joker, because I mean, I was surprised to even see this trailer come out, to be honest. I thought that the best portrayal was Heath Ledger, and in his memory, it would be so great that no one else ever touched this role. But I mean, that's not realistic. Yeah. But I mean, my opinion of this was that, it kind of reminds me of the Tyler situation on 13 Reasons Why. They built up the backstory so much that you started to empathize with him. And even the end of last season of 13 Reasons, spoiler alert, like he was going to do a school shooting. And if you were the viewer, kind of understood. You were like, well, hell,
I would shoot
him too. That's where I was at it, as a viewer.
I don't think the regular person has like the
urge enough
or evilness, I guess,
or resources, or like,
well, resources. It's pretty easy. We live in Florida, man. You literally just have to go, give them your ID, and pay for it. That's how it works. Like in a lot of places, there's no background check, which is why we need stricter. I'm not American, but
yes, we need to advocate for stricter, more pervasive background checks. But I mean, like even if you empathize with somebody, like I don't have it in me. Like no one, like I don't know.
Like most people don't have it in them to kill other people. Like,
but like I remember watching it saying, Tyler's been through hell. If he were going
kids deserve to like not die, but like they deserve to be punished for what they done to Tyler.
And
that's how you feel.
I wasn't gonna be like, like, if I were Clay, I'd be like, bro, don't get them all. But I can get those guys who got you into the bathroom in a small room and look the other way. That's where I was at. So I think that like with this new movie, and people, there's a lot of people who have mental illnesses, and like they're triggered by these things, and maybe it's not the best idea for them to watch something if they already have ideations of like killing people. So I agree, but I mean, the controversy is really like, because what happened was that they did like an interview with like the producer or the filmmaker, and they asked him like, what role, like this movie is this way. How do you feel as a director or producer that you made a movie that kind of like uses guns often, frequent, and make, it kind of empowers people to use them or whatever. And they even asked Joaquin Phoenix like, oh, like what is your role in like all of this stuff? And it was difficult for them to answer the question because like they're just making the movie. Like society has its own problems, like government has its own problems, like they're just trying to make a really good movie. And like it freaking sucks that it's so great that people want to kill people. Like,
I mean, is it their fault? No, because most people wouldn't watch it and be like, oh, great idea, I'm gonna kill people.
Yeah.
But
I mean, is it their fault? No, but it is also the job of media and, celebrities to not do anything to contribute, I think.
But isn't showing in the news like, oh, this is the most recent mass shooting, and this is where the person about the gun, and this is how they did, and this is how they hit it, and this is how they got it in. Isn't that also contributing to like showing people how you can
Do
like,
it. I
yeah,
mean,
prepare
yeah,
for a
like
mass
how
shooting? Like,
Google, like, you know, you can
yeah,
easily. I mean, okay, fine. I think that's definitely right, but I think if anything, this is just another example of having a larger conversation. After 13 Reasons, like there's another show that's like after what is it, like More Than the Reasons?
yeah.
There's like a
Like an
little
after show.
there's an after show to 13 Reasons that like breaks down each scene and talks about everything behind what you just saw. I think for this, for the Joker, there should probably be an ancillary, I don't know, mini doc that just talks about like, you know, like mental health and how he felt and why and how, what other ways he could have used to get his feelings out.
Yeah,
Yeah. I think that's
a
pretty
good
fair.
idea.
Yeah.
And I think it would like, ease the controversy with everything
Exactly.
and contribute to society in a way that isn't just amazing entertainment.
I agree. I just think like, you know, we can continue to have these great movies, we can continue to have great songs, but we have to be socially responsible. You know, even like I this brings me back to like I actually to watch the Dave Chappelle show like and what I think that he's so great and so known for being like or trying to be, at least with the Chappelle show, socially responsible, not putting out stuff that like, you know, contributes to bad behavior. So that's all. I mean, that's all you can do. It's not like people are going to just stop making movies.
Yeah.
You know, like that's just not realistic.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's where we're at.
And this brings us perfectly into Asia's ad minute.
Asia's ad minute.
Is that what it's called? No, it's Asia's ad break.
Asia's ad break. Yeah, I think so.
Oh God.
Well, okay, so for this one, I have two ads this week. So the first one, I think it's the perfect segue from the mass shooting situation. So the Sandy Hook, the survivors, the parents and survivors of Sandy Hook, they decided to do this back to school commercial that's really reminiscent to this other commercial called Evan. I think most people have seen. It's the one where it's like a school day and like in the background there's this guy that's like shopping for guns and drawing guns or whatever.
Yeah.
And then they play it in reverse and like you see all these things.
All the things that you missed when you were paying attention to something else.
And in this one, it's pretty much like back to school things. So like, oh, like I love these scissors my mom brought me, and like they're holding it in like a defense stand because they have to like try to like be careful because someone's obviously shooting up the school and they're using it as a weapon. Or like I'm so happy I finally got this phone. Like now I can keep into contact with my parents. And like she's like crying and she's in the bathroom and she's like, I love you, mom. And there was like a skateboard and it was like, I'm so happy I finally got the skateboard, and like he had to like break the window to get out. So there was like a lot of instances in using school supplies, and it was like trying to be another like, you know, like your normal back to school commercial like for Target, but using it in the way that frankly you know, people have to now think about because school shootings are prevalent and it's a thing. From an advertising standpoint, I mean, it's always great when you have an ad that goes in a different direction than what you thought it was. Like, you know, as a viewer, you're watching something and you think it's one thing and it's not. That like sort of surprise is always good because it keeps people engaged.
Exactly.
So it's great from there, but I think what's the most compelling part of it was that it was so real, so like soul crushing,
realistic, yeah,
realistic, like had me in tears. You know, I'm just watching it and I'm thinking to myself, oh my god, like, you know, these kids, these like little kids, these young kids who shouldn't be thinking about anything but just like going back to school and enjoying themselves have to be really contemplating ways to like save themselves. And as adults, we can't like figure out, you know, something in the legislature to keep guns out of school, but somehow the kids have to find things that their parents bought them to save their lives. I think beyond me. It's a commercial that I think that everyone should watch because I mean, even the coldest heart will melt. It's really sad.
Yes.
Um, that's my first commercial. The second one is actually by Thinks. For those of you who aren't familiar with Thinks, it's period panties. So it allows you to bleed freely in your panties without having to wear tampons or pads because like they're supposed to like be able to absorb.
Oh God.
I haven't tried these, okay? But the prospects of it seems like a really good idea. I don't think.
No, it doesn't.
I think so. If it works,
Dude,
it's a really
it
good
probably
idea.
works because Thanks is like a bigger brand
Mhm.
now. But
And it's supposed to keep you dry. So it's absorbent and not uncomfortable.
yeah, but like it might slip and slide.
What do you mean, the panty?
Yeah,
Or the
and
liquid?
the blood.
Well, it's supposed to absorb it. It's not supposed to like.
Yeah, but it's not like a paper towel
Mhm.
that'll absorb. And even if like a really good paper towel, even the best ones, the most expensive ones don't pick up the whole thing. Especially when it's a lot, you know. Depends on your flow. But that's what I guess like if we're trying to promote, not that we are trying to promote, but like if the world
I will promote it if things send me some and I'll try them.
if society's trying to promote less use of tampons and pads because of, you know, environmental the Diva cup is one option. It's reusable. You have to like put it in there and take it out. But it's better than having blood panties.
Well, that's a terrible marketing campaign. Come get your blood panties here. Well, look, I haven't tried them. I think if they work, they're a pretty cool product because I think pads are uncomfortable. I also think tampons are uncomfortable. And if you think those are uncomfortable, I think Diva cups are like uncomfortable.
You literally, first of all, you can't feel tampons. Second of all, you can't feel the Diva cup either. And you only have to change it like a couple times a day.
Have you not seen the first episode of like Younger, where like Kelsey gets her like Diva cups like stuck up there?
Well, yeah.
And then it's like I assume it has to like spill everywhere because
no, it doesn't.
If you don't take it out properly, it can spill.
Oh my God, okay.
What do you mean?
Okay.
Certainly spilling can happen.
Just like with a tampon and a pad. Spilling happens if you don't take it out soon enough.
Well, yeah, but like it's one thing to like, you know, like leak a little bit and you have a dot on your butt. And it's another thing to leak a little and you have like the freaking like Red Lake escaping.
The Red Sea. Yeah. Okay, well, whatever. I'm not for blood panties, but what were you gonna say about their ad campaign?
I'm not for or against blood panties. Let it show. Let the record show. Okay, so there's like an ad campaign that they put out. I don't think it's actually launched yet, but I did see it. Well, I guess it launched because I saw it, but I think it's supposed to be like on TV, and it hasn't been on TV. It's only been on the internet, and it's called Menstruation, and men is capitalized, and it shows like different moments that happen to women, but the roles are switched. So like this little boy goes up to his father and says like, Dad, I think I got my period. And he's like, oh, you know, good job, buddy. You're growing up now. And like, there's like this guy that like leaked on his bed and like he like rolls over and he's like, oh, you know. And like, there's like guys like walking from like, I guess like the conference room and like he asks like the other one, like, hey, do you have a tampon on you? And he's like, yeah, he like pulls it out. You know, like it's like all these like little small moments from that women usually have throughout their day just normally. And it's like switched to men. And I guess the whole point is trying to make the conversation of periods more relatable for men so that it's not such an icky subject. I don't know why people think it's so icky.
Because it's blood coming out of your privates.
But it's natural and you can't help it.
But it's also like poop and pee. It's gross. But it's natural and you can't help it.
Yeah, but like there's not like such like it's not a touchy subject to be like, wow, I really need to pee. Like but it's a touchy subject to be like, oh, I'm on my period. Like
well, not for me.
But like, well, yeah, but like for sometimes men treat women a certain way, or like they don't want to hear 100%. About it.
It's like we're pregnant when we have our period. It's like it's not that serious.
Yeah, I mean, well, for some people it really is, like, you know, cramps or whatever.
No, like, yeah, but like even me, like it's serious in the but like it's not like we're sick.
Yeah, like. But
Not even pregnant people are sick. That's not what I'm trying to say. But they are more delicate because they're carrying a human being inside of them. We are for sure not.
Yeah.
If we have our period,
Yeah.
which is a celebration.
I just
For me. Sorry. For me, at this point in my life. That's
well, I'm yeah. I just think that the whole commercial, I think, in my opinion, is just very trying to make a taboo subject less, inflammatory, trying to make something that I think people are, a little iffy about. I know that there's people that like their father has like never like, like got them like went to pick up pads, or like their boyfriend refuses to buy pads for them because they think it's a big deal.
They think it's gonna make them gay?
I don't know. Hey, look.
Probably, honestly.
You can buy gayness right next to pads.
It's $8. Super cheap.
Yeah.
I don't think that commercial would face men. They would be like, well, I think my first impression would be like, that's kind of silly. Like, men are never going to have to go through this. Showing them some fake men that are going through it is kind of silly.
I mean, my thing is that like I just think it broadens the conversation. I think it closes with them saying like they're like two couples, they're making out, and then he's like,
two men are making out?
No, a girl and a guy, and he's like, I'm on my period, and she's like, me too, and then they continue, and like
that's kind of weird, no? I mean, unless he's like trans, she is trans, or
I'm a trans person in the video. I don't know. The point is that you should watch it. I think you all should watch it. I mean, and. Yeah, give me your opinions. I think it was a good commercial from an advertising standpoint because, again, I think it's something unexpected, and I think it starts a conversation, which is a point. A good ad or a bad ad, like all good ads start a conversation, even if it's a bad ad.
Yeah.
I
agree. I agree with that.
Yeah.
I haven't watched it yet. It sounds a little bit silly. I do think it's
playful.
Yeah. Maybe that's their.
I mean, maybe that was their approach.
Exactly.
It's funny.
Exactly.
But at the end, the message was, I think, pretty clear, and I thought it was like about having a conversation about stop stigmatizing, periods.
But it could just be women in a conference room with men and being like, "Hey, do you have a tampon? Yeah, it's in my bag. Grab it, like, or whatever. I'll go grab it for you." I think it is a little too silly almost, because men will never have to like go through it, and I think it's like making light of something that like it's serious. Like, it's uncomfortable for me in a conference room with men and women to be like, "Hey Rachel, do you have a tampon? Oh yeah, here it is." Like, it's uncomfortable because it's uncomfortable for them.
Yeah.
But this is not gonna make it less uncomfortable.
But I also think that, like you just said, if the commercial was like two women like in a conference room talking over a man saying, "Can you hand me a tampon?" The idea is that he, in his head, is probably like, "Oh my God, gross! I can't believe they just said that." And
sorry, I interrupted you. Maybe it can be like he just continues on with his day and like doesn't really pay attention.
But that's the thing; he will probably continue on with his day. But in that moment, when you have that exchange with another girl, in his head, he's probably like, "Oh my God, I can't believe they just said that. That's so inappropriate." Like, I'm sure he won't say anything like verbally, but I do think that having a conversation where it's like men facing and trying to put them in those situations, it kind of normalizes, the whole period conversation.
Maybe it's about showing them what we go through, when we have our period, and being like, hey, they might be on the hallway talking about tampons, and like, it's fine.
Exactly.
If it's that way, then like, yeah, but I don't know. It's just.
I think it's something that, first of all, some ads. I think in school, what I learned the most is that if you don't like an ad, it wasn't for you. Sometimes,
oh my God, that is a very strong statement, because there are ads that are just shitty and like
racist
and like etc. So many other things they can be.
They can genuinely be bad ads, but sometimes you weren't a part of the target, and that's maybe why you don't get it, why you don't like it.
Sometimes,
but
there are bad ads.
There are bad ads,
especially when they like decrease sales or shit. Like,
there's like one I'm thinking of, and I'm like, I'm not gonna say it, but
say it. Say it.
No, look,
like
I don't say it's a bad ad. I think we've already talked about this. David, I love you. The ad agency who created this, but the Andy Warhol commercial, I was not in the target market for that. I did not like it. But is it a bad ad? No. I think it was historical.
I think I can understand how people liked it. I don't think it was a notoriously bad ad. I think it just wasn't as
Well,
good
USA
as.
Today, most people rated it the worst ad for that particular Super Bowl because they didn't get
I
it.
think that's well deserved.
I think, but that's the thing. It wasn't for me because I know the people who liked it really liked it
Yes,
because they
yes.
understood the historical
Yeah.
significance of Andy Warhol being Andy Warhol.
But it also wasn't a problematic ad.
No,
So I think bad ads are problematic. Like
Pepsi.
exactly. Kendall Jenner, bless her
Yeah.
heart. But
Poor thing.
well,
Yes, but that's all I have. Now we can segue into
showtime. So today, I'm gonna talk. I've thought about this segment and this moment all freaking week. So this new show came out on Netflix called The Politician.
Ooh.
Have you watched it?
No, but I heard that it's by like Ryan Murphy.
Mm-hmm. That makes so much sense. Right, I forgot that. And he's the one that did Scream Queens.
Yeah, and like American Horror Stories and
Glee.
Oh my god. Okay, so I was talking to my friend at work about this, and I told her I was going to talk about it on the podcast, and she was like, okay, so what do you think about it? I literally said, and I'm just going to repeat it now. I said it's like Glee and like Scream Queens. It's for that kind of audience. And even though I watched Glee, the first seasons, and Scream Queens all the way through the end, I think, I didn't like it. It is, first of all, what bothers me the most, Ben Platt or whatever his name is, Platt, he looks like he's 35. No, okay, he looks like he's 32. And
is this the guy from like Pitch Perfect?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's supposed to be 17. And like, I'm sorry, I don't buy it. And just like Glee, like these actors were 45 years old. And they were no I know. But they were like 28. And Ben Platt is 23. But he's
Well, he probably doesn't look it, but I think that's around the age.
he doesn't look it. But Glee actors were older too. And like, I think it was so dumb and silly. I couldn't even finish watching it. Honestly, like I don't want to be too harsh, but if you like Glee and Scream Queens, you're going to like it. I didn't like it. It's too silly and too like exaggerated and too cartoony of like real life situations. Like they're rich, so they live in a mansion with 45 bedrooms. And I mean, I'm exaggerating. I don't know how many bedrooms, but it's like
Hugh Hefner
like
over here.
huge
Cases.
I don't know.
Stairwells.
Huge
Yeah.
stairs or whatever.
Mhm.
And soup and like they have servants and like it's like
Much.
Or
it's
unrealistic.
unrealistic and like Gwyneth Paltrow, like I liked her before this. She's like
Whoa.
her character, all the characters, not just hers, they're too cartoonized. And like there's a girl that it's a spoiler. I shouldn't say it. Well, I'm not gonna say it, but they just cartoonize everything too much.
Okay.
It's like
I
I mean, that's the
Queen.
style.
Yeah,
That's-
it
or
is.
That's the style of this.
But with the name like The Politician, I thought it was gonna be like about him like
Serious.
trying to get to the top and like not at the top of a high school freaking like being the president of his high
Social-
school.
Yeah. mhm.
So dumb and silly. Like there's more important things. And like to be fair, like they talk about gun violence and blah blah, but it's so silly. The whole show is so silly and like unrealistic that he at one point, I don't know if I should say it, it's a spoiler kind of.
Spoilers. I love spoilers.
Spoiler alert. Okay, turn us off if you don't want to hear this. But he's like trying to win the race for like high school president,
Mhm.
and they opened a gun store like near the school, and he bought all the guns
Okay.
and like sent them to be like melted or whatever.
Okay.
And that's like nobody would do that ever. And it's making light of like a situation that's like super realistic. Like he was like, "Oh, I asked the store owner what it would take for me to, for him to close down the store," and he was like, "Oh, well, you know what it would take," and then like he
like,
did
bought
it.
out
He
the
bought,
store.
yeah, and it's silly, isn't it?
I mean, I think it's unrealistic, and I don't know who has like the means to like do that. But I also think it doesn't solve a problem. Like
No,
this one
It's
store is now out of like,
yeah. So
stock.
go 2 blocks
Go
over,
two blocks over.
buy
yeah.
a gun in another store, and like So I haven't finished it. I don't know that I will.
Is this a show, like a series?
It's a
or
show, yeah.
One episode. Like
No, it's a
movie?
show. It's a show. It's called Showtime.
Oh, well, hey.
I don't think I would. I'm gonna finish it. I was trying to do it to like be able to talk about it, and it's just so hard to get through because it's so, and the characters are like the typical rich girl. She's like, I know, no, I can't. Honestly, I was excited for it. I didn't know it was gonna be comedy, and I'm not the target audience for comedy shows. I'm not. Like, I like things that are realistic and like that could actually happen. As I said in the last episode, it was just too silly for me. If you like Scream Queens and Glee, you're gonna like it.
I love Glee.
And it's full of like really cool actors, and I had high hopes, but it disappointed me.
I mean, I think, like you said, like it's not your style, but no, I kind of want to watch it. I love Glee. I mean, I never watched Scream Queens. Like,
I watched Scream Queens and I finished it because it had so many good actors
oh,
in
Taylor
it.
Lautner,
Okay, he's far from like
John
John
Stamos.
Stamos.
no, he's far from like my thoughts when I say it had a lot of good actors. Or
I thought,
no.
like, when you said good, I just thought handsome, and I was
No,
just like,
no.
John Stamos.
When I said good, I meant popular.
Quality.
I meant popular. I did because Emma, whatever her name is, she's popular, but like I don't think she's a particularly like Meryl Streep talented
No.
level, or John Stamos, or Nick Jonas, or like none of the super.
It wasn't Adriana Grande in it?
Yeah, Ariana Grande.
Ariana.
And Abigail, whatever, Little Miss Sunshine. Yeah,
Breslin.
she was on it.
Mhm. And Kiki Palmer, no?
Yeah.
I didn't watch your show.
Well,
I didn't watch it.
Anyway, I knew a lot of them, so I was like, oh, I'm gonna watch it, but it was silly, like blood spouting from like an incision in your neck.
That's
Silly.
definitely his style, but that's also why like I love him because like American Horror Story,
But that's not comedy.
It's not, and that's the thing. He does
That's-
it so well. Like
That's something I would watch.
you would love
But
it.
I know, but it would scare me too much, I think.
Like no, I think you can probably watch Murder House and Coven is like my favorite.
Okay, I'm gonna watch it.
But I can't watch like Asylum because that was scary, and like Hotel with Lady Gaga.
Okay, we need to talk about this off camera because I might watch one of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's all I have. I will bring you a new show or a new show for me next episode. And we're about to start our little web series that we talked about,
Yes.
video
Getting
series or
culture.
whatever. Yes. We have a really, really cool first experience, and it's not eating Indian food anymore. Although we might still do that because I
Yeah.
want to try it. But yeah, it's gonna be really amazing.
Yes. And we'll keep it a
Hopefully.
surprise.
Yeah, we're gonna keep it a surprise.
Mm.
So that's it for today. What did we get kind of cultured on?
At the end, I always get like kind of cultured on just like everything.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like understanding like different perspectives of like the same issue.
Mhm.
But I think we were pretty like simpatico this episode. Like we didn't like
Yeah.
have any like different
super
thoughts.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, is there anything that like stands out to you? I think.
I don't know. I mean, I guess I just like having a broader conversation about the Joker because like
Yeah.
as I was like, you know, as we're talking about it, it really reminded me of the Tyler situation.
Yeah.
And like, you know, I thought about it and I'm just like, you know, I can understand how someone would see that and say like, well, those people deserve to die. You know, what are you going to do? So, yeah, I like having these conversations because it kind of helps me like work things out in my head too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. I think that's it for today. Thank you guys for watching,
Thank you
and
guys.
we will see you next time.
Till next time.